This is LSAT PrepTest 131, Section 4, Passage 1. It's a comparative or dual passage set about parallel computing. It's a pretty low difficulty set. The ideas are pretty accessible, and neither author is really hiding the ball here, but they're going to punish you if you treat the two passages as being interchangeable. Now, both passages are about splitting big computational problems across many processors working at the same time. That's the common ground, but they come at it from totally different places, and if you flatten that difference, you're going to get the relationship questions wrong. Now, the most important paragraph in the whole set is paragraph 3 of passage B. That's where you find out what passage B actually cares about. Everything before that is just setup, and I'm going to come back to that. Now, passage A is solving a specific problem. Paragraph 1 gives you the setup. Climate models work, but they use a ton of variables. Small shifts in these variables change the output, so you've got to test every combination. You don't want to slow down here. Your only job here is to register the scale of the problem. That's all this paragraph does. Then paragraph 2 doubles down on scale. The brute force method means millions of simulation runs, and one computer can't handle all that. That math example with 2 million runs is not something you've got to memorize. It exists just to make you feel the impossibility. So read it, get the point, and then keep moving. Paragraph 3 is where passage A lands. Desktop computers linked through the internet can share the work, problem solved. Except not quite, because look at the very last part of the paragraph. The author adds a catch. These projects only succeed when they grab enough public interest to get people to participate, and that is a real condition. It means the author is not saying this is a guaranteed fix. The author is saying this can work if. So that if is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. If you miss it, you're going to overstate how confident the author is. Then on to passage B. Paragraph 1, they zoom way out. It's not about climate models or about any one problem. The author is saying that tons of problems across nature, society, and science share a structure. Lots of simple parts acting on basic rules that together create complex behavior. The author calls these parallel problems. That just means the parts can all operate at the same time. You want to move through the paragraph here at a pretty steady pace. They're just defining a category. Paragraph 2 is about the ant colony. A single ant is almost nothing. Just a few neurons following basic rules. But thousands of ants together look like they're thinking. So this paragraph is an illustration. It makes the abstract idea from paragraph 1 feel concrete. But this is just doing one job here. It's showing you what a naturally parallel system looks like. Get through it pretty fast. Then paragraph 3 of passage B is the whole game. The author says computing is shifting from sequential to parallel. And here is the actual argument. If the problem itself is parallel, then the tool you use to solve it should be parallel also. So you want to match the shape of the solution to the shape of the problem. The old sequential model hits a speed wall, the parallel model doesn't. The author is saying here this is the obviously correct approach. So here is the relationship. Passage A gives you a case study. One problem, one solution, one practical limitation. Passage B gives you a theory, a whole framework for understanding why parallel computing is the right direction. If the author of passage B would read passage A, they would point at the climate modeling project and say, that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. But the author of passage A never makes that bigger claim. They stay narrow on purpose. So the author of passage B is actually cautiously practical. It can work, but depends on public buy-in. The author of passage B is making a stronger case. Parallel computing is the model that fits how these problems are built. The trap here is reading both authors like they're saying the same thing, but they're not. One is reporting on a project, the other is arguing for a principle. Students who miss that are going to pick wrong answers on any question about how these passages relate to each other. They'll choose options that make both authors sound equally ambitious, but passage A is practical. Now, the key move across this pair is the scope difference. Passage A is focused on one problem, one solution with one caveat. Passage B is a claim about how all problems like this should be solved. And the hardest questions are going to test whether you can keep that definition separate. Now, before you get to the questions, you want to check yourself on these 3 things. First, why does passage A bother with that 2 million runs example? Second, what is the ant colony actually doing in passage B's argument? And third, what would the author of passage B think about the public participation requirement at the end of passage A?